The Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean once said that Canadians are encouraged to believe that everything is possible in this country, and she sees her own story as a clear example. The former Governor-General of Canada has spoken often about her early life in Haiti as she fled to Canada with her family when she was just 11, watched as her father, a victim of torture under the Duvalier regime, fell apart, saw her mother work tough jobs to make the rent, but Michaëlle found success in part due to hard work as a television and radio host, broadcaster, activist, and ultimately Governor General, where, despite criticism from both sides, some said she overstepped her role, others say she didn't enough. One thing is for sure is that she connected with Canadians, meeting them where they lived. She also found common cause with her husband, Jean-Daniel Lafond, a documentary filmmaker and writer who's generated his own controversy due to his comments that many think are way too sympathetic to separatists. Together, through the Michaëlle Jean Foundation, they're working to empower young people to use the arts to ignite positive change in their communities. It's a way to get kids on the margins a place at the table, and that's important. And since both Michaëlle and Jean-Daniel found their voices through creative expression, they hope that a new generation of young people will find theirs too. Please welcome the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean and Jean-Daniel Lafond. How are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
How are you? What's going on? Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you both here.
Thank you. It's my first time.
It's your first time here?
Yes, the last time you were alone.
Yes, you were. Well, listen.
I checked that. I'm here now.
You were aware. You watched the doc and said, never alone again.
But I promise to come back with you.
Yes?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're back. Now,
Thank
it's,
a pleasure.
National Youth Arts Week is an important thing. And a lot of people right now, it's hard in times of a tough economy and austerity, which is how it's kind of presented to us, why the arts should be funded, why it's important. So for you who've made a living in this and also dealt with a lot of people, what is the value in your mind?
I think, of course, as you are raising it, there are many concerns. I think that these are difficult times, but the energy is there. And what we like about what we do through the Michaëlle Jean Foundation, which is my legacy as former Governor General, is to support young, very socially committed artists who are using the arts as tools for social change. And many of them, some of them are underserved youth, who are being so creative and who are bringing about change in their neighborhoods, their communities, using the arts.
And I've heard guys like Werner Herzog and others have said it, that they think that documentaries, especially in this era, really don't make big change because people have been telling these stories for a long time and the world doesn't seem to be getting better or more just.
Well, actually, what I find quite inspirational is when you hear the youth talk about the power of the arts, how they describe their actions. They say, what we do is that we create meaning. We try to better our communities, making them more vibrant and healthier. And this is so true because we saw in many occasions and in many places in our country how young people are using the arts really to change the dynamic and to create new synergies around them and to work really on very grim issues like exclusion, homelessness, suicide, distress, addiction, and how powerful it is and how they are impacting, their communities and environment.
And I think for me, my dream with the foundation is not only to help young people to express themselves. It's so moving when you have young people that said, arts, dance, theater, and so on, saved my life. Saved my life.
So you guys are as close as you could get to 24 Sussex, right across the street. And you worked with a couple of prime ministers, like the impact the arts have. Did you have an audience with the leaders? Because art seems to be the first that goes when it comes to tough budgets.
What we did, for example, as we were having those youth forums, youth dialogues across the country, we invited decision makers to participate in them. And of course, as the Governor General invites you, you respond and you come and you think that you are going to observe. And we brought them to places where they never go. We brought them to neighborhoods that were like challenging and difficult. Compromised. So at first, they would listen, and all of a sudden, they got caught in the stories that the youth were sharing, and they realized that they were not just complaining about issues, they were also bringing solutions.
Strong youth voice is important. What do you think of the Quebec student protests right now?
Well, I think it's it's a demonstration of I would say, the democratic, our democratic life. Of course, some may not agree with what they are saying, and there's 1/3 of students who are demonstrating, 2/3 who are still, in class, and but I think that as long as it becomes part of a process, of a dialogue, a negotiation, and it turns to be something constructive, it's not in vain. It's not in vain.
What did you think?
It's very peaceful first, It is the necessity to be heard, That's very important, And when you are using arts with youth, and even in this kind of protest, on the street, it's not violent. Why do you become violent? It's for different reasons, but it's first an expression of something. It has to be said, You want to be heard. And it's a way you are using arts is that, it's a way to be heard through arts, through a peaceful weapon, I could say. What I said is the best weapon of construction, It's not a weapon of massive destruction, it's a weapon of massive construction,
What do you do when the people that are protesting, though, they don't use constructive weapons? That's the reality. Students protest against a school board or a government or whomever. The government doesn't have to do anything. So it's just words. It's an exercise. How do you get meaningful change to come out of expression?
Well, I think, first of all, by opening a space of dialogue, engaging in a conversation. Even with the Occupy movement, I think what is important is to connect to the indignation, what is provoking this anger, what are provoking those thoughts, and bringing them down, to the street, and find a way really of including this and engaging in a discussion. That's really important, and I find that, of course, it means taking a risk. Yeah. Unfortunately, many politicians are not open to the idea of taking risks. And engaging in a dialogue where you don't control everything that will be said, where what will be said is not necessarily what you want to hear, and being challenged by it is part of a creative way of considering governance. I find it very important to create those spaces.
But it is a duty, in politics, it is a duty to open a space for dialogue and to take the risk of dialogue. If not, it's not accessible here, Right. And that's important. And the new generation is using daily, more than daily, the tool of dialogue through internet, Twitter, and so on. The dialogue is there, and it's impossible now to ignore that, It's great, It's great.
National Youth Arts Week, they're a big part of it. Jean-Daniel Lafond and the Right Honourable Michaëlle Jean. Great to see you. We'll be right back.